I wanted to make this video mainly because um, how much it's kind of bothering me how unrecognized, unacknowledged uh, scapegoating is. From the victim's standpoint, like people don't really acknowledge the victim of scapegoating very much, as you know what I mean, because most of the people are like scapegoating the victim. You know what I mean? So when the scapegoat leaves the toxic environment, they have trouble finding support. I know I have support of what they went through of scapegoating, almost to like the survivor of the scapegoating wants to convince themselves because the society wants us to be convinced that we didn't go through anything. It's unacknowledged, like, uh, yeah. I mean, like, when I saw one counselor, um, and she discredited just one thing I went through in the scapegoating, just one thing, like it was a kid's imagination. I could tell this was going to be a long road for me if the professionals don't even acknowledge simple things that happen in from uh, what happens to the scapegoat child. And so I have a lot of empathy and compassion. I feel like towards you know I, from my own experience, I can see how the scapegoat child can always think that there is no hope ever. You know what I mean? The whole family around them is abusing them, discrediting them. The professionals that the family sends the kid to discredits them because they're talking with the parents that are abusing you. So you can't even talk. You don't even feel like you can talk about what your parents did to you to a professional. You know what I mean? It's it's a crazy position to be in. You know what I mean? And that's not even including the religious brainwashing that you're fighting against as well, that you've been force fed this brainwashing since your earliest memories. Um, and somehow you have to deprogram all that on your own. You know what I mean? With no support, you know? I mean, I thought about it today. Like, even if I had a professional counselor in scapegoating next to me, with me, coaching me through every day on the healing road, it still wouldn't heal me. That's how much I'm serious. Like, if I had a professional next to me in the scapegoating that understood what the scapegoat goes through themselves, and so they know how to help heal the scapegoat. If I had a counselor like that with me every single day, coaching me, it still wouldn't heal me, I don't think. Maybe, I don't know. I thought about that today. I'm like, man, even if I had a counselor around me coaching me that knew how to, like, motivate the scapegoat, like, coach the scapegoat, like, I think every scapegoat figures out that that professional has to be themselves, that help, that, you know what I mean? Like, the professional has to be you. You know what I mean? And that's what I've realized is, like, because I go to support groups and stuff and they help, but they don't understand what the scapegoat went through either. Any support group, I don't care what it is, they don't understand what the scapegoat went through. um 12 step 12 step groups, I mean, I'm sure they help, I think they've helped me a little bit, but they don't understand the scapegoating. So it's the most severe abuse, and it's the most unacknowledged, unappreciated, unrecognized. I guess that's what bothers me. It really bothers me that there's not like uh because you can't there's nowhere to go for the scapegoat to heal except for within themselves. That's the only way to. There's no building of professionals that can really, you know what I mean? Like, healing the scapegoat is really complex. I've learned, because it's, I guess that's why they call it complex trauma, but it's not something a pill can fix. It's not something a professional can fix, a counselor can fix. Um, and that's very disheartening that, like, you're like, man, I wish there was a professional that understood scapegoating, but I've only found them on YouTube. Literally, I've only found them on YouTube, and they're in a different state than me, But if they were in this state, I'd be seeing them. You know what I mean? Because they know. Some of them have been the scapegoats themselves, so they understand it. But I don't know. But I can see how, and I know it was for me, how despairing and how hopeless growing up in that position, and how hopeless even in the recovery. It's always this, it starts out very hopeless for the scapegoat kid, like they try to crush that kid and put him under the mud. They try to shut him up so he'll never talk ever in his life. You know what I'm saying? They don't want that kid talking ever. And that's why it's liberating to talk on camera. It's, you know what I mean? Because there's so much fear growing up. You weren't allowed to talk at all, hardly. You did what the narcissist said. Period. Period. And you know that's true. The main narcissist, you do what they say. The main one, the scary one. And I believe that there's always one scary parent, one that's more scary than the other, because they can't both be equally scary. Like, I don't know. That's just, I don't know. That's just something I experienced. Like, but they mess you up. They make you think you're crazy your whole life. They put you in that identified patient role, so you're the one that's always seeking help, and for yourself, and like, they never seek help ever. It's just you, and it's just bullshit how they set you up in that role to be the identified patient, so you're always seeing professionals for help. I can see it all clearly now. How they did it. How they don't how they don't take responsibility for anything and just put it on one person in the family. All their sins, all their faults, they put on one person in the family. I can see it all clearly now. How they did that, why they did that, and the hard part is snapping out of that role when you've been in that role for so long, and just like, oh, I'm just a regular human in society now. Never scapegoated at all. It's hard to snap out of that. But I try to snap myself out of it with constant videos, and just on this path. Because I hate journaling. I hate writing things down. I hate it. And so I just do videos, Uh, so, but yeah, it just, there's no Me Too movement, for the scapegoat, like Me Too, like it's so unacknowledged. It just, everybody else has their Me Too. Hey, I was domestically abused in a relationship. Me Too, you know. The scapegoat doesn't have the Me Too, even though they've been through the most, in my opinion. They've been through the gamut. They've been through it all. The scapegoat child, Some of them have been through every type of abuse. I have no doubt. Some scapegoat children have been through every type of abuse known to man. It's, spiritual, religious, physical, sexual, emotional, psychological. They've been through it all. I know there are scapegoats out there that have been through it all, you know. But yet they're probably silent right now. They're probably silent right now because they've been told to be silent and shut up for so long. You know what I mean? It's hard for them to talk and be believed by anybody, anywhere, because it's so unacknowledged. Um, uh, do you ever hear about scapegoating incidents on the news? No, not saying it's actual scapegoating. You don't hear about it. I know I've never heard it growing up. Otherwise, I would have been like, "Hey, that's happening to me." Like what's happening to this kid in that house that got reported to the news, that's happening to me too. He's singled out kid being treated like garbage, Um, but even though there's no physical scars, mainly, sometimes there's physical, like I have physical scars from it, from the experience, but mostly it's invisible abuse. You can't see physical scars, which makes it tough. Again, on another level, it makes it tough for anybody to believe you, and have sympathy for you and empathy for you. Like that sympathy and empathy does not exist for the scapegoat anywhere. Like, I think maybe God understands, and that's why he leads you to certain healing things, professionals, and I think God understands, but even God knows that it's a long healing process. You know what I mean? Even God knows it's going to be a long haul, you know. I mean, he's not an idiot. I know it's going to be a long healing process. Um, if I continue to go down this road, and God knows it's going to be a long healing process. I mean, it's realistic. You know, God's realistic. I'm realistic. Um, the quick fix thing is kind of just a joke now because there is no quick fix for the scapegoat. There's no quick fix cure for the scapegoat. Nothing. There's nothing out there that can heal what you went through quickly, in my opinion. So don't waste your time and energy. Don't waste too much time and energy looking for a quick fix to heal you. So, because I used to think counseling would have been a quick fix, if I went to counseling a lot, It's not. And even the counselors will tell you it's not. So, but anyways, that's kind of why That's why it kind of bothers me that, I think it'd be easier to get help if it was acknowledged. If it was actually acknowledged, like, hey, you were the scapegoat child. You were abused for most of your life. I, you know, I believe you. That you know what I'm saying? We may not be able to heal you right away, but I believe that you were scapegoated. That even that's not even acknowledged, Um, in a way, it makes me feel like my parents got away with it. You know what I mean? It makes me feel like they got away with everything because society doesn't acknowledge it, like they don't acknowledge it. Uh, so you got a double whammy of not acknowledging it. Not only does your family not acknowledge the abuse they put on to you, they don't acknowledge what they did to you, but society doesn't acknowledge it either. In the medical field, they don't acknowledge it, you know, and so it makes it double as hard for the scapegoat, you know, and it makes it even less hopeful for the scapegoat, So, but deep down, like I think every scapegoat has that hope deep down inside their heart that the family couldn't touch. You know what I mean? That part inside of you that the family couldn't touch, and that's the part that you protected for a long time. That secret part of you that they couldn't touch, they couldn't get to. And that's the part that's giving you hope to go forward still. And maybe that's the essence of God in you. I don't know what it is. That because I know, like, if you didn't have that little spark within you still, you wouldn't have walked away. You wouldn't have had enough respect to just walk away when you were fully depleted, totally destroyed, no energy to go on. You wouldn't have kept on going on and forward if you didn't have that spark within you somewhere to keep you going and go, you know what I'm saying? Despite nobody believing you, despite nobody seeing what you went through on the outside, despite it being all secret abuse and you couldn't talk about it, despite all that, you had that spark within you that, that they couldn't get to, and that might be your real essence and the essence of God or something. I don't know, but I know that's the way it was with me. It's just like despite whatever they did, there was a part of me they couldn't get to, that they couldn't touch. The brainwashing couldn't touch it. The physical assaults couldn't touch it. The mind fuckery couldn't touch it. Them, the verbal assaults couldn't touch it. Nothing they did could touch this one place within me. You know what I mean? And I think that's what has kept me going for this long. It's just that piece of me that is just it's not showing very much now, but it's still there. Like this part of me that they couldn't get to. Is still within me. That no matter what society says to discredit me or to not acknowledge the abuse I went through, the type of abuse that I went through, despite that, and despite it being all secret abuse and mostly, and it was just something I couldn't prove. And despite all that, there was this part of me that they couldn't get to, and I don't know. A part of me thinks it was God being abused with me, like he was in my body with me, like that part of me. And that's why I could be even healed at all, even a little bit, is because God was going through it with me the whole time. Maybe. I don't know. It's a stretch, but I know a lot of atheists will think I'm crazy, but no one can explain how I'm still going, you know, despite all odds against me, you know. But well, what's crazy is I don't truly believe in God, you know, but I know there is a God. And like, because they say even the demons believe in God, but that doesn't mean anything, because even the demons believe in God, you know. So what, you know? It doesn't save them, you know. But I don't know. Kind of went on a tangent there with the demon talk. uh, Sometimes I just don't want to acknowledge those things, you know what I'm saying? Like the rest of the world doesn't acknowledge those things. Like the world doesn't believe in the devil, the world doesn't believe in God, you know, a majority. Well, I don't know. Seems like a lot, but um but anyways. But yeah, it was just as I was listening to a professional of scapegoating, she made me realize that this type of abuse isn't really acknowledged at all, and it's the most silencing type of abuse, you know. The person that needs the voice the most is the kid that got scapegoated his whole life, you know what I'm saying, that didn't develop his own voice, you know, couldn't uh speak up for himself, you know, got put in his place all the time, and anytime he talked back, he got reprimanded, you know. Like the one that needs this acknowledgement the most is the scapegoat child, you know, like in my opinion. Like holy hell, like I used to think, and this is serious, this is dead serious, I used to think I was the only one that went through this bizarre, confusing, upside down, backward shit experience on the whole planet. It was so hard to explain to anybody, so hard to believe by anybody. So I was like, why talk about it? It was so it was upside down, topsy turvy land, you know. Like the experience was so bizarre that I didn't feel like anybody could understand it, not a single person. But uh, the last few years, I've slowly realized that there are others out there, that went through the same bizarre, confusing experience as me, you know, and survived, and are still trying to keep going and thrive. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, man, I can't believe other people have gone through that crazy ass experience, you know, just that bizarre experience, especially with religion on top of it, uh, you know, religious abuse on top of it. I can't believe there's others out there that went through that. backward shit, crazy experience, everybody against you, everybody targeting, everybody teaming up to treat you like crap type of experience. Everybody thinks you're crazy your whole life type of experience. Everybody thinks you're nuts your whole life. I just said that. Like you're mentally ill no matter what you do, no matter what meds you take, no matter what professionals you see. You can see the best professionals in the world, they'll still see you as mentally ill, as the identified patient, no matter what you do. And you begin to believe it yourself that no matter what you do, you're just the identified patient, And I can see how a lot of scapegoats have just thrown their arms up in the air and just said, fuck it. Sure, I'm crazy, whatever. Sure. And then just accept it and walk away, It's anyways, I kind of went off on this video for a while, but I gotta go later.